This is the Cool Nerd, and welcome to 50 Shades of Success with the Cool Nerd. Today I'll be having a conversation with Fadzaiba Zingira, law graduate turned policy analyst. I call her policy maker. She doesn't seem to
but cool.
Anyway, we'll be having a chat with Faz about, the highs and lows that life has presented her and how she came about to working for what I think is one of the best companies ever. Facebook. Yes. A whole Facebook. Hello, Fazzy.
Hello, my love. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. First let's start off where it all began for you, or at least for me in your life. Law school at the University of Pretoria.
Which is traumatic in and of itself.
Absolutely. Please walk us through what your plans were just before you graduated.
Okay, yeah, so I think that's a good place to start, yeah. So law school, because what it tells you is that you have to be a lawyer, or you have to be a lecturer, or you have to be an advocate. And so I pretty much walked in and been like, this is great. I'm going to finish my law degree, I'm going to get into a big firm, I'm going to be associate, then I'm going to make director, and then I'll go into advocacy, and I have the whole 10 to 15 year plan.
Yeah.
That did not work out as well as expected. Because I'm Zimbabwean and being a foreigner, it meant it was really hard to actually get big law firm jobs. So despite how well I was doing in school, I got rejection letter after rejection letter after rejection letter. I actually remember going to one interview and they looked at me like, you're great, any chance you can get a residency? And I looked at them and I was like, well, I could if you hired me, and then I could apply for one in 3 years. And they're like, yeah, but we can't hire you unless you have a residency. So this is going to have to be a no.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting there being like, oh my gosh, successful people don't get rejection letters. They don't get filed. I still have emails where it's like, thanks so much for applying. Da, da, da. You know, the copy-paste ones where you know that this went through a machine.
Yeah.
Like they saw the Zimbabwean box and they're like, thanks, and moved on.
Nice knowing you.
Yeah. Which was nuts. So ended up basically having, I think, everyone else in my year who was doing well had a job by the time we got to fourth year. And I was sitting there
except for me. I didn't have a job. Remember, I got hired at the end of fourth year.
Yeah, but you made certain decisions to be like, oh, I'm not going to make the application now. I'll make it later.
Okay, and we went in the same boat. It's fine.
No, that's fair. That's fair. But I definitely remember sitting there and being like, how am I the only one that doesn't have a job right now?
Yeah.
Like, how is this happening? And having to explain to my parents, so like, why, how do you not have a job? Like, are you not doing well enough? Like, what is happening? So that was awful. And then eventually finding a small enough firm that was willing to at least take the risk to be like, well, we do need the people in, and it was a great firm. I just want to be very clear, like they were a lovely firm, but I think it was also the knowledge that someone doing as well as I am, if I was South African, I would have gone to a bigger firm.
Definitely.
So they knew that actually we're getting a really good deal right now. Yeah. Is that this is someone who could have gone to a bigger firm, but she can't, so she's gonna have to come here, and that was frustrating. Again, I think they were doing really great work. I think I just realized like this is not what I want to be doing.
Yeah.
I wish I was brave. I wish I was as brave as you were when you realized pretty early like this is bullshit. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear.
Well,
this is bullshit.
Thank you for introducing my story, which I was planning on sharing as time goes by. Yes, I will explain that sometime down the line.
But basically, she was very brave. And I wish I had been brave enough to know early on that this is not what I want to be doing. Yeah. But I was like, this is what you do. This is what you do. You stick it out, you suffer through it, and it'll be fine. Yeah. And so being able to leave to go to my master's was the best thing that ever happened to me. And
can I stop you there before we discuss your master's? How did you deal with the rejection letter after rejection letter after rejection letter?
So that's actually what is funny. I started collecting them.
Like an actual collection.
Like I actually started just printing them out and saving them. Because that was the only way.
I did not know this.
Tatuna is my brother. We talked about it because he realized he might have to do the same thing, but he's always known he never wanted to go into law, into like being a lawyer. But at one point he was like, you should just start collecting them.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you know the phrase hard laughter. Like, if you don't laugh, you'll cry.
Yeah.
So it's hard. Yeah. So I was like, this might actually be funny. So we actually got a nice file. It was like purple and everything. I started printing them out and just putting them in there. And then we'd sit on the shelf at home. We had to got
enough rejection letters to put together a file.
I applied. You guys have every law fair that came by the law school from like second year onwards, I applied to everyone. I handed a CV at every desk. took a card from each person, talked to each person. I went online. I did all the online applications. I found smaller firms. I did a ton. Like when everyone's like, "Oh, I applied to 5-6." No, guys, I lost track. Like I spent 2 years applying to firms.
Yeah.
So the only one that came back to me was literally Cheadle Thompson.
Just the one.
Well, I went to that other interview where they were like, could you get residency? And I was like, no. Mm-hmm. So yeah, those are the 2 where I got interviews. Yeah. Everywhere else was like, hey, thanks so much for applying. We've considered your application. Da 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 da.
But then print out. The masters happened.
Thank God. And the masters only happened because someone was like, you should apply. Judge Cameron told me to apply for it.
Yeah.
And I laughed and I told him I'll apply for it if it makes you happy. So literally only applied because it made him happy. Yeah. I didn't even remember when I handed in the application because they're like, oh, you should hand in an essay. I handed in one of the essays for, I can't even remember what subject. I was like, oh, this is fine. And threw it in and handed it in. And then sent an email to Judge Cameron, I've applied. We should talk again. Because I was like, this is where I could actually have a chance. This master's is useless. And so when I actually, like, to do the master's was incredible. Because I was like, one, thank God, I just realized I don't want to be a lawyer.
So, context to everyone, Faz applied for the Rhodes Scholarship, right? And got to study at Oxford University.
So yeah, Judge Cameron's one was like, you should apply, like you should absolutely. Actually, he had wanted, but I was like, I don't know if that's allowed because at the time he was on the board for the South Africa one, so he was like, you should apply for the South African one. I'm like, I don't think I can, and I think it's awkward if you're on the board and then you ask me to apply. I think like issues of whether that looks fair, but then managed to apply for the Zimbabwean one. Yeah. And so that, and then I literally remember when they called me for the interview. When they called me for an interview, they wanted me to come. I had to come back a day earlier, like to leave South Africa a day earlier.
You had to go interview in Zim?
Because they were like, you have to do it in person. And I remember being really annoyed. I was like, now I'm about to have to move my whole life to interview for something I'm not going to get. Like, this is really useless. I remember actually talking to the woman and being like, is there any way we can move the interview date? And she was like, no, it's got to be on this day and you have to come in person. And if you can't, you're no longer... And so I remember being like so angry and having to be like, this is so dumb. I now have to change my flights. I need to move out of this flat a day early. This is going to be so problematic. And now I'm going to do all of this and I'm not even going to get this stupid thing. And the Rhodes Scholarship, they have this thing where it's technically a 2-part interview. I did not know that because I had not prepared because I did not think I was going to get it. There's a 2-part thing where the first part is a cocktail night, and so they invite you over, but you're supposed to be on your best and like, this is what I would be like in formal situation. Did not know that. I was like, oh, this is such a great informal setting to get a chance to get to know the judges. Did not know that at all. Like, at all. So I was like, oh my gosh, free wine! And like, drink wine. And like, oh my gosh, let's debate this topic. Oh, this is so problematic. I can't believe this is happening in South Africa with the EFF and da-da-da-da-da-da. And I did not realize until months later where everyone's like, no, we prepare, like, the Americans were like, they prepare months for that cocktail night. And I was like, oh. I couldn't even remember half of it. I drank so much.
Oh, wow. Kids... Don't follow her.
Don't follow my example. Please do not follow my example. I honestly do think it was just because one of the people, Tariro, on the board, I think he was good at seeing potential. I don't think people are good at seeing potential. I mean, and I assume when you say people, you include yourself because earlier on you mentioned that you applied, but you didn't think you get it. Exactly. No, exactly.
Why wouldn't you? Because I mean, can I tell you, confession, I went through university looking up to this woman. It was like, listen, Faz had it together. Study with her. If she says a case is important, know it. And you helped me through. You helped a lot of us. University friend Trevor, that includes you. But yeah, so you get into the scholarship, you get to Oxford. What did you study?
So I did law because that is what a lawyer does, and I didn't apply for anything else. I was like, this is all I know. I'm gonna do law. 3 months into that degree, realized, oh my God, why am I doing this? I don't want to do this. And then moved into public policy. Okay. So did my second year focus on public policy with a hope of trying to understand economics, not as much. But yeah, that's how I moved away from the whole law field. Yeah. I think it's weird because we tell people who study law they have to be lawyers. Yeah. They don't have to be lawyers.
Did it scare you though to after having spent 4 years studying at university? No, you've got to put it in a foreign country and then you move away from.
Yeah, you've got to put it all together. It's 4 years in a foreign country studying law. Yeah. 8 months working at a law firm, and then 6 months into a law degree, realizing suddenly that all of this investment you don't want to do it. I cried when I went to the registrar and I sat in her office and I burst into tears. I was like,
Yeah.
I've just realized I don't want to do this. Then obviously I was 6 months into that first degree, so she was like, it only makes sense for you to finish it. There's only 4 more months left. You can change into anything else afterwards. So I was like, no, that makes total sense. But I remember being heartbroken because I had a nice 15-year plan. I was like, this is going to make sense.
Yeah.
I'm going to finish my master's. I'm going to go back. I'm going to finish off at the law firm. I'm going to be an associate. I'm going to be a director. I'm going to be an advocate. There's a whole plan. I have a plan.
You're a lawyer.
Like, I have a plan. So suddenly realizing like, oh, I don't have a plan. 2, I don't want to do the plan that I had before. And 3 was also the wonderful realization I don't actually have to be a lawyer. So that was nice. Like the sudden like, oh, you can study a whole degree and never touch it again.
Yeah.
So that's not something our parents teach us.
At all.
Like our parents are like, you studied accounting, you're an accountant. You studied medicine, you're a doctor. But elsewhere, I'm like, so the Americans, they don't do those degrees until their second degree. So they do whatever they want in that first 3 years. And they have a whole idea of you don't have to do what you studied.
Yeah, which is, I recently found out that in the UK you don't even have to study law to be a lawyer. I was like, sorry, what?
Like it's a new world. Like you don't have to go into what you studied.
Yeah.
What you studied just proves you work hard.
Yeah.
It says that you can work hard, you can learn, and you're diligent.
True.
Great. I will hire you for on that basis because whatever I give you, you're going to be able to do.
Yeah. Everything else you can learn on the job. Okay, so you do your first year or your one master's, you decide to go into something else. How did you find your second master's in a foreign country?
So I was lucky. The scholarship funds for 2 years.
Okay.
It's a lot less lucky if you're a PhD student, for example, because that's a 3 to 4 year commitment. So you've got to figure out the rest of the years by yourself. But I was pretty certain. I was like, I don't want to do a PhD. I don't want to be here for more than 2 years. So I'm only going to do the 2 years. So I was very lucky. I was funded the 2 years.
Oh, so they pay for your 2 years, and they didn't have an issue with the fact that you changed to something else. Okay.
No. That's actually a really funny fact because Bill Clinton was a Rhodes Scholar and he never finished. He never finished. As in he took a 2 year degree and then a year and a bit in decided he actually didn't really like what he was doing, so he just left. They fund the full 2 years. Whatever you do, whatever decision you make.
So you don't have to produce a certificate at the end. Nice.
I wish I knew that
before.
When I heard that about Bill Clinton, I was like, wait, what? And he still gets to say Rhodes Scholar?
I was like, I wanted to have this conversation with you off camera to be like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that Bill Clinton started a degree and didn't finish it. What?
But he gets to say Rhodes Scholar. He's
Yeah.
like, the moment you're appointed, the title's yours, regardless of what you do with it afterwards. It's nuts. The Americans are nuts.
Wow. Okay. And then you finish off your 2 years degree at Oxford. And then what?
And so my second degree needed me to do an internship in order to finish the degree. Like, so you have to do a minimum 3 months at a company of policy impact. It's nice and beautifully vague in order for you to like squeeze in something that makes sense in terms of your degree, and then you have to write a dissertation on it, and then you're done. Because I could stay in the UK for an extra year, 8 months afterwards. I started to look around in London because I was really eager to try and stay here. At least to stay and see what it would be like.
Yeah.
I didn't think I would like London as much as I do. So I looked around. It was really hard because I tried to stay away from the consulting firms because that's where everyone goes. It's like, this makes sense. It's easy to find a government partner in a consulting firm. You write your dissertation on your policy impact and then you're done. And so I got really lucky. Facebook hired Abele Okobi a year and a half before I joined. And she is incredible. She basically headed up the human rights department at
That was
Yahoo.
your first boss, right?
Yes.
Yes.
She headed up the human rights department at Yahoo. And Facebook finally, apparently after a long time, finally managed to steal her away. And then so she had got into Facebook and she was now starting out a team. So it was her, she had hired one other person 6 months later, so there were basically 2 people. And then she was like, I want a Southern African. So basically put a whole job description, focus on it has to be someone who is Southern African, who has lived and or worked in Southern Africa, and can speak to policy issues.
Yeah.
And she started out as an internship and then reached out to all the big schools in the UK. Mm-hmm. And then, lucky for me, there was 3 Southern Africans on my degree course. And so all 3 of us applied. And so she wasn't sure whether she was looking for 1 or 2, but I remember interviewing with her. With her and her colleague, Akuya, and I remember one of the questions she asked me, was, because I told her, listen, I've never worked in tech, I don't know anything about tech, I've never worked in tech regulation. I've never looked at tech law, but I know Africans and I know Southern Africans, and I can learn and I will work hard.
Yeah.
And then she asked me what I thought the potential was for being online for Africans, and I said, Africans already, without being online, are such connectors. Like, we believe in communities, we believe in connecting. Imagine what we could do if we really got every African online. And I think, and again, it's that seeing potential thing. So like whatever Judge Cameron saw, Abella was like, this makes sense, you should totally join. And so it started off as a 3-month internship, and I kind of never left.
I remember us panicking towards the end of the 3 months, and I kept asking you, Faz, do you think they're gonna keep you on? What are the
And honestly, I was like, I don't
know,
because Abella didn't know, no one knew. So I was like, okay. So after 3 months, they were like, we'll extend for another month, and then after a month, they were like, we'll extend for another 3 months. And my brother was sitting there, he's like, you're living on borrowed time. And he kept telling me, you should call your law firm back. You should call them back and see if they'll take you back.
As in, start putting measures into place just in case that Facebook didn't work out. So.
And so
this is your dad.
Yes.
Old school.
Yeah. No, he was like, this is nuts. You're on a contracted relationship with these people. They can fire you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Then what do you do? Like, And so I was like, that's totally fair. But I sat there. I was like, I really don't want to go back. And then credit to my mom. My mom was like, you're going to go back to candidate attorney job with 2 masters. You're lying. My mom was like, you're lying. You're not going back to that job. Unless they're going to suddenly double your pay, you don't go back.
Yeah.
So I remember calling the law firm. And this was before even my second extension on the contract. And telling them I wasn't coming back. Because they emailed. They were like, listen, your 2 years is done. Are you coming back or not? And then I was like, I'm not coming back. And it's not that it scared me to tell them. It scared me to realize that if this Facebook thing doesn't work out, I go home. And then I have to tell my parents that, there's also no job in South Africa. Which would be a hectic conversation to have. So Abella just kept extending my contract. And then eventually, when my visa ran out, she was like, it's fine. We'll figure out how you're going to work from Zimbabwe. So work from there.
So you went back home?
Yeah. But then I worked at more on an external consultant basis.
Yeah.
And then after that,
Faz, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is the same in Zimbabwe, but I mean, back in South Africa, there's always like a negative connotation to the whole concept of moving back home. So irrespective of what it is that you're doing on the side, the idea of moving back home, it's just like your neighbors are just like,
what is happening? I know. And it was even worse for me because I was technically working from home. So my parents didn't understand the concept of not working from an office. They're like, so you're coming home but you're not going into an office. I'm like, no, I'm working from my bedroom. I'm working online on my computer. And they were just like, this doesn't make any sense.
Did you have to have like an actual conversation to explain?
Oh yeah. Yeah, because it was also because I was taking meetings. So like I was sitting at my desk taking meetings, which means I can't have people walking in and out of the bedroom. Because I can't have people walking behind me as I'm having a conversation with my boss.
Yeah.
So I had to discuss the whole, and African parents do not understand the concept of knocking, and that you can't just come into someone's bedroom. So having to explain to my mom, like, you can't actually just come into my room when you hear me on a phone call. Like, I'm actually going to need you to knock.
Yeah.
And it took months. Like, it took months before they were like, okay. Like, my mom would send me a message via WhatsApp to say, hey, I've left lunch on the stove, because she could hear I was on the phone, and that sort of thing. But yeah, no, there's definitely a weird, like, people are like, what are you doing back? Like, did it not work out? And stuff doesn't work out all the time. How did you
deal with having to explain to them? Like, how did you go about answering that question to be like, hey, why?
Answering that question. I get so frustrated. I'm not good. It's much to the annoyance of my mother. I'm not good at this. So I let my mother deal with those questions most of the time. So she'll be like, no, she's working. And she, like, my mom's decided that I'm a lawyer at Facebook, which I was like, that's not a complete lie. It's not what I do, but it's not a complete lie. So she's like, no, she's taking phone calls and she has to travel all the time, so we must leave her alone in her bedroom. No, I wasn't good at answering those questions. Also because I was low-key embarrassed.
How would you define success?
Abele says, because I really like this, because she actually has this on a cup. Work is love made visible. And I think success is when you can say that you go into work and you're literally making the love that you have for the work that you do is visible to everyone around you.
Yeah.
And that's incredible. That implies that you're completely satisfied at home. You're completely satisfied as a self-made unit, and you can still go into work and still do what you love. I don't know if anyone or everyone has ever gotten to that stage. I'm all over the place and still trying to figure it out, but yeah, I
So
think that's
do
what
you
it
think
is.
that your life right now falls within the parameters of that definition? Your definition of success?
Oh, close.
Close
I
enough
think
for you to be
close.
comfortable. To be
Yeah,
okay with.
yeah. I think it's like I love my work.
Mm-hmm.
I really love my work. I really, really love my work. I grew up thinking that you're supposed to hate your job. Like, at least hate it for the first decade. Like, that's the idea.
True.
Like,
especially in law, you're just like,
Yeah,
you're gonna be
like,
miserable for
you're
a couple
gonna
of
be
years.
miserable, and then one day you're gonna make partner, and then you're gonna love it.
Yeah.
So I was like, I pretty much assigned myself to the fact that I will hate this job. Whatever I'm doing, I'm gonna hate it till I'm 35, and then it'll be fine. So I think the idea that I like my job is a privilege. I don't think lots of people have the chance to.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people don't. And so I like it. I really enjoy going into work. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy it enough that sometimes I forget how many hours I work, which was never the case in law.
Can I say something? I don't know if you realize, but your definition of success only related to your work life. Or when I said, does your life fall within the parameters, you only mentioned the work
life. Exactly. So that's why I'm like, I don't know if, like, I think I'm still trying to figure out, like, where I want to live, how I want to live, who I want to be with, whether I want to be with someone, what that would look like. I have not figured any of that stuff out.
Right. So you've only worked on one element, which is your work.
Yes, and I was just like, I'm just focusing on work. My personal life is in
Focusing on the battles
shambles.
that you can win.
My personal life is in shambles. Like, someone was asking me what kind of email person I am. I know that's a weird question, but they were asking basically, like, are you a zero email person, or are you like, you're okay if there's 1,000 unread emails? And then I remember my first answer was like 0.
Yeah.
And then I realized, no, it's 0 for my work emails. My personal emails
I can't imagine that.
I like picked a battle, and I was like, it's fine. It's a 0 for my work emails. I need to have 0 work emails. I don't even know how many. Like, I skim through my personal emails and then just mark it all, and I move on. And I hope that whoever really needed me is going to re-email. But that's I'm like, so my work emails are my work emails make sense. My personal emails mess. I think that describes my life currently.
Oh, wow.
It's like everything's a mess over there, but at work I make sense.
So, what's the nerdiest thing you've ever done?
Just one?
Well, I was like, what's your top two? Top two nerdiest thing. Come on.
No, I'm like trying to think like what fits. I mean, like, you're talking to someone who was really proud that she was in the quiz team for several years in primary school.
Yes.
I'm still proud. When people ask me, I'm like, I was in the quiz team for several years.
Let's take that as your one of your nerdiest.
One of the nerdiest things. The other thing is because my brothers and I will often do is when we watch shows, we'll pause shows often as we watch, and then we'll discuss themes. And we'll be like, no, I swear to God, we'll discuss
Unlike
themes.
a TV show,
Oh,
like you've been
absolutely.
watching, like,
Absolutely.
like
yeah.
the middle, or like
Absolutely. That's how
Crazy
you know it's a good show. Like, if you can pause it, and we do this with cartoons even. So we would watch Ed, and Eddie and be like, isn't it awful?
Oh my gosh, you were
MPOC?
discussing themes of Ed and Eddie.
It's important.
That is your most nerdiest thing that you do.
I would do it, all three of us. Like, we'd sit there and we'd be like, is it not awful that Rolf is the only POC in this whole show?
Okay.
Like, let's discuss that. Or the fact that Johnny is actually going through he's actually hallucinating.
POC being person of color.
Yes, sorry, POC
Context.
being for person of color. So we discussed that, like, how awful that representation of people of color in that show.
Person of color in Ed and Eddie?
So, because remember, Rolf is from some third world country that no one ever names, so he's technically brown, but we don't know what that, he can't speak English, he lives with these pigs. It's like weird, and I'm like, this is really problematic. And like Johnny, we're not sure if that's just like weird shading or he's hallucinating that whole show. Like he's completely like him and Plank, and it's a whole.
Okay, sorry,
So-
let's not discuss the themes of Ed and Eddie.
I'm just saying, like, this is something that we do.
What's the coolest thing you've ever done?
Anything in this job. When people ask me like, what do you do, and I say Facebook, people are like, oh my God, that's so cool. Oh, okay, I forget that this is cool to people.
Yeah.
I can't think of, because the job lets me travel in ways that I would never have been able to travel. I get to talk to people that I would never have had a chance to talk to. So I think I might say this job. I need to do
very lucky of you. No, that's not where my question was going when I was talking about cool, but
I need to do so many more cool things.
Thank you very much for coming to hang out with me, Faz.
Thanks, babe.
And thank you for being very honest. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. That's today's episode of 50 Shades of Success.